Hello, it's me, Scribble, and I've got a new story for you. Yay! Yeah, I was bored a couple of nights ago. You know, as you do, just sort of flick on, read some fan fiction, or you know, sort of get myself to sleep, I guess. And I came across, literally across, um, a little group that sort of crosses Harry Potter and MLP for some reason, and I found this nice little one shot. So if you are a person who does not like crossovers, you should leave now. If you are someone who does like crossovers but doesn't like Harry Potter, then you should probably leave now. Okay, now we've got that sorted. This is called Of Wizards, Witches, and Unicorns. So it's kind of, pretty self-explanatory in the title what's going to happen. It's by T.S. Cogwheel, which that's a pretty cool name, actually. You gotta admit. Anywho's, yeah, just here we go. Have your own opinions. Let me know in the comments if you so desire. As ever, I don't actually own anything of this. This is all his work, and cover art's done by I don't actually know, but you know. So here goes. Twilight Sparkle sat by the window, the full moon and a single candle illuminating her nighttime studies. She was reading up on some zebra herbalism she had been discussing with Sakura earlier in the day, but the actual contents of the book was not as important as the act of studying, in itself. For while she loved her life in Ponyville and her lively friends, the quiet nights alone with her books were still an important part of her life. The cool breeze from the open window, the calm darkness engulfing all distractions, the complete quiet, save for the rhythmical breathing of the baby dragon sleeping nearby. These were moments of... A loud crash from downstairs pulled the unicorn out of her thoughts. She quickly got up, but stopped and listened when she heard muffled voices. "I told you it'd work, Hermione," a young voice called out. Twilight tiptoed towards the staircase. "And I keep telling you, Ronald Weasley, there is no way the chimney in the school library can be connected to the Floo network," a second young voice answered, this one female. "You can't argue with results," retorted the first voice. "But it's impossible to use any form of teleportation within Ponyville grounds," insisted the second voice with a practiced certainty. "Well," began a third voice, male and slightly hesitant. "Wait, what did you say?" "I said you cannot use any means of teleportation within Hogwarts grounds. Seriously, am I the only pony who ever bothered to read Ponyville, a history?" the female voice said with an indignant scoff. "She did it again, Harry," said the first voice, sounding worried. "Did what?" asked the girl, not happy to be cut off in her lecture. "You said Ponyville instead of Hogwarts, Hermione," offered the third voice. I'm starting to get nervous. Let me find my wand and get some light. "No need for that," said Twilight, stepping downstairs, her horn aglow, lighting up the library. "Now, who are you, and what are you doing in my library?" the Purple Mare asked the three unicorns who stood at her mouths agape. "Well," Twilight asked after a pause, trying to sound more like a stern librarian than the curious magic student that she actually was. Yeah. In her head, she was already trying to puzzle together what she'd overheard. Clearly, they were talking about some kind of teleportation spell, but what was that about chimneys? Chimneys connected to a magic network? Fireplaces were strongly associated with the concept of a home, and a skilled magic user could draw power from conceptual aspects. That was why it was easy to enchant hooves to walk on clouds and grow wings on a non-Pegasus pony. The hooves were already connected to the concept of walking, so they needed only a bit of magical encouragement to be able to enable them to walk on something unfamiliar. If one could create a magical network weaving together the aspects of different homes, using the hearths as focal points. She realized that her mind was wandering, and summoned a mental image of Applejack, telling her to get back to the here and now. While she had zoned out, the 3 young ponies, certainly not adults, but older than Applejack's and Rarity's sisters, about the age of the 2 colts who had brought the Ursa Minors of Ponyville, perhaps, had regained a bit of composure, but lost it again when they turned to each other. They gasped and stared, pulling up their front hooves to feel their faces. That made one of them, the filly who had let go of the ground with both forelegs, fall over and hit the ground with her face. One of the colts exploded in laughter. "That was brilliant, Hermione. You should have seen yourself. You guys look hilarious. It's like when Hermione polymorphed herself into that cat thing." The tall colt had a yellow coat and a short ginger mane, and Twilight instantly knew that Pinkie Pie would like him. Even his cutie mark reminded him of her bouncy pink friend. 3 loops on poles. Twilight tried to figure out what they represented, but was distracted by the filly, and Hermione, was it, getting up and staring down the colt. That was not funny, Ron. Really, I sometimes wonder why I put up with you. You're just so immature. The young mare had an orange coat and long brown bushy hair. Her cutie mark was an open book, and Twilight sympathized with her quietly. And Celestia knows how many times she herself had wanted to yell at a certain pink earth pony for not taking things seriously enough. And a book as a cutie mark? That was so adorable, Twilight could just squeal. The third one, the quiet colt, had a light coat, much akin to Rarity's, but that was where the similarities with the fashionista ended. His jet black mane and tail were impossibly unruly, and his round, battered spectacles would make Twilight's elegant friend squirm. His cutie mark was a bright red bolt of lightning, much more ominous than Rainbow Dash's. Wait, that wasn't a cutie mark. It was a scar, some kind of residue of powerful magic. It practically reeked of dark sorcery. Some pony else had made his or her mark on the poor colt, affecting his destiny. Twilight felt a pang of sorrow for the boy, now certain she wanted to get along with the 3 nightly intruders. "We're very sorry, Miss Purple Talking Unicorn, but we didn't mean to venture to barge into your library in the middle of the night," the bespectacled colt ventured. Twilight said. "No," interrupted the filly. "It is really rather dark. It really is rather dark, although the full moon does give some—" Twilight snickered, empathizing with the girl's need for semantic accuracy. "That's my name. Twilight Sparkle." Massive pause while I'm on Facebook. Oh, God. Okay, good. Now we've done that. The bookmarked filly blush. Hey, bookmark? That was a good one. Twilight snickered again. "Oh, I do apologize, Miss Sparkle. I did not intend to poke fun at your name." The curly head looked even more flustered than Fluttershy would have in the situation. "It's quite all right, dear," Twilight said. Any anger she could still have held towards the trespassers now completely melted away. "No, really," the filly insisted. "When you are named Hermione, you understand how sensitive ponies in this case, I guess, are to their names." "It's quite all right, Hermione," Twilight repeated. Hermione. She tasted the name. "It's a very beautiful name you have. It sounds classical. A name with music and history." Why, thank you, miss. That's very kind of you to say. I've never thought of it in that light." "What about you, colts?" Twilight asked, turning to the other 2 unicorns. All 3, if I guess. She could hardly think of them as intruders anymore. They were simply too flabbergasted and out of their element to be any kind of burglars. Wore identical jumpers and ties. Some kind of uniform, she wondered. They are insane. Sorry, I just saw two people walking down like a little side lane out of my house. Yeah, you can get down there, but I wouldn't recommend it at this time of night. If you're going to do that, you probably better come back in the morning. So, anyway, the cult with the scar. What a strange scar. The cult with the scar. And what a strange scar. It almost felt alive. He tried to collect himself and said, "My name is Harry Potter, Miss Sparkle, and this is my friend, Ron Weasley." He motioned to the giggly, ginger-maned colt with a hoof, almost losing balance. "Yeah," the yellow colt Ron offered. As Harry said, "We're very sorry to disturb you. We should have been in a completely different library, the one at our school." That made a bit more sense to Twilight than three clumsy unicorns breaking into a library, although not much. Your school library at this hour? I can appreciate the studiousness, but libraries normally have closing times. Twilight had certainly been thrown out by impatient librarians enough times to know that for a fact. "Well," Ron began. "You see, miss, we aren't really allowed into the section where the book Hermione wanted is, so we kinda tried to sneak in using the Floo network. My brothers gave me some special Floo powder they said would let us access unconnected fireplaces." "And wait," Hermione interrupted sharply. "You say you got the powder from Fred and George, and you didn't think to tell us?" "I admit they are very good wizards, brilliant even. But have they ever given you anything magical that wasn't some kind of practical joke? They own a joke shop, for Pete's sake, and you trusted them to have invented some way to circumvent the spells on the most heavily magically protected building in the country." "Hey, if any pony, blimey, I'm doing it too, if anyone knows how to break a spell that keeps people from stooping around, it's Fred and George. Remember who gave us the Marauders map?" True, they are very good troublemakers, but Ron, that hardly counts in their favour now, does it? Will you two stop it?" Harry cut in between the two, something Twilight suspected he was quite used to. "There are more important things right now than Ron's brothers, like the fact that we are standing in the library of a purple talking unicorn in the middle of the night. Or perhaps the fact that we are horses." "Unicorns," corrected Hermione, pointing to Harry's horn, trying to keep steady on three hooves. "We're kind of short for unicorns," ventured Ron. "Are we ponies? Can unicorns be ponies?" "Well, I've been one all my life, so I do believe we can." Twilight broke in, thoroughly amused by the confused young ponies. "Twilight," a very young, very, very sleepy voice called out from the attic. "Is that you? What's with all the noise?" "Oh, Spike, did we wake you up? I'm so sorry," Twilight called back, and then she heard the patter of tiny feet. She felt she had to warn the already shaken visitors. "Spike is my assistant. He's also a dragon, but don't be afraid. He's just a baby, and generally very well behaved." "A baby dragon?" the three cried in unison, exchanging glances. "Yup, that's me," Spike said sleepily, toddling down the stairs. "Huh? Who are you guys? Twilight, why are there three strange ponies in our house in the middle of the night?" The three strange ponies collectively let out a hell breath. "You scared us there, Miss Twilight," Ron said, relieved. "When you said baby dragon, we thought you meant a real baby dragon." "Hey, I am a real baby dragon." I know you wouldn't say it like that, but don't worry, you wouldn't get the reference. Spike burst out angrily, sprouting a flicker of green flame to prove his point. Sorry mate, didn't mean any disrespect. Only the last time we met Baby Dragon, it was a menacing, biting, clawing beast our friend Hagrid tried to raise." "Raising dragons? That's a pony after my head. Hey Twilight, can I be a menacing, biting, clawing beast?" "It's not exactly a pony," Ron hesitated. "He's the groundskeeper at Ponyville School of Friendship and Magic." Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Damn it, what's happening to us? But he raises dragons. Spike's curiosity had completely overtaken his brief anger. Well, he tried at least. He's always more interested in animals than ponies. Than people. It's like he can communicate with them on a different level. He lives in a cottage near the edge of the forbidden forest, and murderly keeps to himself. But it's really kind when you get to know him. His cutie mark wouldn't happen to be 3 butterflies, would it? Smirked Twilight. The 3 young unicorns stared at her blankly. His whatty mark? Ron asked. His cutie mark. The mark that appears on a pony's flank when he finds her special talent. So when he finds his special... Why do they always write it in the feminine? When he finds what makes him special. His cutie mark. The mark that appears on a pony's flank when they find what makes... Then he finds their special talent. Twilight turned around to show them hers. Mine symbolizes my love of magic. The trio looked at each other's flanks, then their own. Ron burst out laughing. Of course you'd have a book on your arse, Hermione. Now you're both an egghead and an egg butt. Hermione boiled and was about to retort when Ron exclaimed, "Oh, and I've got a Quidditch goal loops! I knew I was a good keeper, but this is awesome!" Yes, Ron, that's very... Hermione began poisonously. Then she stopped dead and saw the pained look on Harry's face. "Oh, Harry, I'm so sorry." "Figures," Harry said, trying not to conceal the bitterness, not trying to conceal the bitterness in his voice. Transformed into a talking unicorn pony in a strange place where purple unicorns live in libraries and are assisted by dragons, and I still cannot get away from him. My special talent is not being killed. Hearing my mother's cry as she dies to protect me. Twilight watched the 3 young ponies as they stood in silence, wanting to say something, but not knowing what. After a while, when the uncomfortable silence became unbearable, she offered up the only thing she could think of, as much to break the sudden eerie atmosphere as anything else. "Well, you came here looking for a book, didn't you? It so happens that this library has lots of books. What were you looking for?" Hermione looked at Twilight, thankful for the break from the silence. "What we're looking for is rather specific, Miss Sparkle. You see, a friend of ours, a former teacher actually, is a werewolf. Once a month he turns into a savage wolf, but there's a draft called Wolfsbane Potion that will allow him to keep his mind pony. Human... Another teacher brewed this potion for him while he was at our school, but he's been without it since. I decided I'd learn to make the potion myself. It's a very complicated brew, but I do have a bit of a knack for them. So, with enough practice, I should be able to master it." "A bit of a knack?" Ron rolled his eyes. "Hermione, you are the smartest unicorn witch in our generation. I bet the only reason the Slughorn won't let you near the potions part of the restricted section is that he's afraid you'll take over his job before we graduate." Hermione blushed even more than before, her orange face turning completely red. She tried very hard not to look at the cult beside her as she continued. "So," she fumbled, As Ron said, the book we need is in the restricted section of the school's library, so we tried to sneak into it to find the recipe for the Wolfsbane Potion." "I don't suppose your library would have something as rare as that, Miss Sparkle." The filly's expression was not particularly hopeful. Twilight shook her head. "Unicorn magic relies on spells and enchantments. When it comes to potions, we have never been on the forefront." The 3 ponies didn't look too disappointed. They hadn't expected anything else. "But," Twilight said with a sudden smile, remembering the conversation she'd had earlier in the day, "I do know some pony who is." The trio brightened up at her words. "We can't visit her at this hour, though. If you wish, you can stay here for the night." Hermione hesitated. "Thank you, miss, but I'm not sure that we could hogwash." Ron broke her off. "Who's going to miss us on a Saturday morning? Sleeping in is allowed at weekends, you know. You should try it sometime." "It's settled then. I'll find some extra mattresses," Twilight chimed, happy to be of some help after all. At the prospect of some sleep, Ron smiled even wider, and no sooner was the mattress laid out before the yellow was laid out before the yellow colt crashed down upon it. Fast asleep as Twilight had only ever seen Spike do. Harry bade them good night, and soon followed after. Hermione, however, stood avidly awake, cautiously asked her host, "Excuse me, Miss Sparkle, before we retire, may I ask you a single question about unicorn magic?" Suddenly, a bright light hit Twilight's eyes. She blinked for a few seconds, wondering what it could be. Then she realized that it was the sun dawning upon Ponyville. That was odd. She looked at her conversation partner, as stunned as herself. Then her eyes wandered over the floor, cluttered with open books, charts, drawings, and notes, past the coffee pot, which had been emptied and refilled 70 times, and then back to Hermione, noticing the black circles around her eyes. She looked at the young mare. She couldn't really think of a mind that could grasp... As she looked back at the young mare, she couldn't really think of a mind that could grasp Starswell, the Bearded, Theochum de Arcadia, as well as Fetlocks, the invisible colour of the slate, in one setting as belonging to a filly. Hermione stared back, probably noticing the same signs in Twilight's face, and the studious pair broke into a giggling fit. "I'm very sorry, Miss Sparkle," Hermione said, when she'd regained her breath. "I didn't intend to keep you up all night. Call me Twilight, Hermione. I think we know each other well enough for that. And don't fret, this is neither the first nor the last time I pull an all-nighter of studying. I only usually do it alone, so your company was a welcome change. You did come up with some excellent points. I never thought about the connection between the ley line theory and oh god, it's like Fibonaccical, but for the Fibonaccical nature of spiral... You sure? The connection between the ley line theory and the Fibonaccical nature of spiral runes, but it makes so much sense. Thank you, Twilight, Hermione beamed. But it really is just analog to a bit of magic theory from back home, so I shouldn't take credit. Nonsense, Twilight said. You obviously are a very bright young mare. Now would you like some pancakes? I guess we should make some for the sleepyheads upstairs as well. Oh, yes, please, Hermione answered, the eager look on her face mirroring Twilight's anger. And thank you for all your time. You really should teach magic theory, Twilight. You are more than on par with the teachers at our school. The young mare turned to the nighttime assistant. And thank you so very much for your help, Aloysius. You are the cleverest owl I've ever met. Whoo! You! Whoo! Twilight giggled. Yes, thank you, Aloysius. Here, have a snack before you go to sleep. She poured some bird feed for the owl, who happily nibbled it down. Then she proceeded to mix some pancake batter. Let me see, she mumbled, floating a pen over a parchment while cracking eggs. I need to get some more eggs from Fluttershy later. I'm almost out of coffee as well. How can that be? Bought some not a week ago. I wonder if Applejack has finished the new batch of apple syrup. The pen scribbled happily, writing a long step-by-step checklist of the day. Magically jugging 2 pans on the stove, Twilight had the library filled with the sweet scent of pancakes, and Hermione had barely set the table before Ron and Harry entered, blissful smiles on their faces. "Blimey, Miss Sparkle, this smells really good," Ron said, mouth-watering. Then he took a better look at the two mares and eyed Hermione suspiciously. "Wait. Don't tell me you've been up studying all night." I can really imagine a face off right there. He spit out the word as if it was something gross and wriggly he'd found in the corner. Twilight and Hermione shared a knowing glance. Some ponies just don't get it. The ponies were at their third pancake, sampling some tea Twilight had from Rarity's last trip to Manhattan. When Spike wandered into the kitchen, still half asleep. "Good morning, Spike," the unicorns called. "Humph," the baby dragon replied, hardly noticing anything past the quartz he was pouring into a bowl. After some spoonfuls of his mineral-rich cereal and a cup of tea, he was getting more sociable, however, and started to join the conversation. Another cup of tea later, and something dawned upon him, seeing that Twilight and Hermione as for the first time. Wait. Don't tell me you two have been up studying all night. He face-palmed. Ron and Harry burst into laughter, and the two mares groaned. Twilight magically ticked something off for her checklist. In a neat, even hoof writing below the line, "Make breakfast," was Spike getting snarky over my lack of sleep. Twilight was a very well-organised pony. While Harry and Ron did the dishes, Twilight packed her saddlebags for the trip to Sakura's hut. Her task list, some books she had mentioned to the zebra the day before, and some apples in case they needed a snack. Hermione was busying about in the library trying to bring order to the chaos they created during the nightly study frenzy. When the boys came out, Twilight said, "It's all right, Hermione. I'll pick it up later. Let's get you three to Sakura's place. Spike, can you handle the library while I'm gone?" "Sure thing, Twilight. It's not like the place is ever overrun anyway," Vivid Dragon replied with a salute. It was a bright and warm day. Rainbow Dash was sleeping in as usual, so some low clouds dotted the sky, but the sun came through in all its glory. Twilight greeted several ponies, wondering how far she had come over the course of her year and a half in Ponyville. Had Canterlot Twilight happily called out to the ponies she met on her way, remembering their names and who they were? She knew she hadn't. While there were still a lot of ponies in Ponyville she didn't know, she wasn't Pinkie Pie after all, Twilight still knew more ponies here than she ever had done in Canterlot, where she had lived the most of her life. Would Canterlot Twilight have opened her home to 3 nightly intruders, served them breakfast, and helped them find what they were looking for? She hoped she would, but she felt a nagging doubt. Not for the first time, she felt remorse for the time she had wasted on insisting to be alone. "Hello, Miss Mayor. Nice speech last Saturday." "Good morning, Big Mac. Thank you again for your help with the firewood." "Good morning to you, Derpy. Feeling better from that nasty cold? Do give Dinky my best." "Oh, hi, Pinkie Pie." Twilight cantered as her field of view was filled with a lively bright pink mane bouncing atop an even pinker, radiant face. "Hi, Twilight." Pinkie started and added her sunglasses. "You ponies!" she yelled, startling the 3 young unicorns. "Twilight, tell me," she whispered, eyes wide and her muzzle close to Twilight's ear, "why are you walking around with new ponies in a direction that is clearly, and I mean quite clearly, not towards Sugar Cube Corner?" The sudden change in volume left Twilight's ears ringing, as Pinkie Pie bounced towards the now positively frightened visitors. "Welcome to Ponyville!" she exclaimed, and disappeared behind a tree, only to come back seconds later with party hats and a small blue cannon. Before the 3 could put up a hoof in protest, she firmly placed the small hats on their head and fired the miniature cannon directly at them, covering them with confetti and streamers. Oh god, I've got to do the song. Welcome, welcome, welcome to you and you and you, she sang with a large smile, pointing in turn to each of the confetti piles that contained Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Dancing, she continued, "We are so very happy, so here's what we'll do. We're gonna throw up..." I don't know if this is the right tune, by the way. "We're gonna throw a party to celebrate you're here, for parties are the best thing for ponies everywhere. We're gonna bob apples and pin the pony's tail. We'll eat a lot of cupcakes and drink some ginger ale. We're so very happy and we hope that you will stay. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Ponyville today." Pinkie threw herself into the air, and fireworks exploded behind her, startling none but the 3 young unicorns. Passers-by waved and grinned. The confetti piles shook themselves to reveal their stunned occupants. "Don't worry," Twilight told them, followed by a well-rehearsed, "She's just being Pinkie Pie," as if that explained everything. "I'm sorry, Pinkie," she told the pink tornado of predictable unpredictability. "We don't have time for a party. My guests are here to meet Sakura and talk about potions." "No time for parties?" Pinkie looked crestfallen at the notion. She stared at the ground, poking in the dirt with her forehoof, her attitude completely turned around in the blink of an eye. "Well, okay, Twilight, if you say so. I'll just..." She walked away slowly, head down, dragging her hooves. "Pinkie, wait!" Twilight yelled, but the devastated pink pony turned a corner, and when Twilight reached it, she was gone. Twilight searched around a bit, but could find neither hide nor hair of her friend. She returned to the trio, who had cleaned themselves of confetti, and looked around anxiously, trying to shake off the enormity that was a first Pinkie Pie encounter. Poor Pinkie Pie, the purple unicorn despaired. "She may be the cheeriest of my friends, but sometimes I think that she's also the most vulnerable. She'll turn around soon enough, though. I just wish she trailed off. No need to burden the 3 anymore." Well, if Pinkie Pie didn't want to be found, Twilight wouldn't be able to find her. She was Ponyville Grand Champion of hide and seek after all. Quite a feat for someone whose coat and someone whose there we go. Quite a feat for quite a feat for someone. Sorry. My computer's been. Okie dokie. Okay, here we go. Sorry, I just got to get back to the point where I was because for some reason it seemed to sort of skip down. Not that you need to know that, because I'm going to edit this all out anyway. Well, if Pinkie Pie didn't want to be found, Twilight wouldn't be able to find her. She was the Ponyville Grand Champion of hide and seek, after all. Quite a feat for someone whose coat and mane stuck out everywhere, save for a candy floss store, and who normally had trouble standing still for more than 2 breaths. I'll make it up for her later, she promised, more to herself than the young unicorns. Let's get to Sakura so we can find out if she can help you. The 4 trotted towards the Everfree Forest, but as they passed Fluttershy's cottage, they heard a loud "Wait!" which caused the Pegasus Wait! Which caused the chickens in the kind Pegasus's pen to squawk and flutter. They turned round to see Pinkie Pie bouncing towards them, as beaming as ecstatically as when she first saw them. She was pulling a small cart bound to a tail, which bobbled after her, nearly toppling over from her uneven gait. As she gained upon them, the earth to sky pony jubilantly exclaimed, "Since you are being all serious and seriously serious, pals, I decided that if the ponies can't go to the party, the party must come to the ponies!" And pushed, or rather punched, a button on her festively painted cart. The top of the cart exploded in confetti, streamers, and balloons. But this time Ron, Harry, and Hermione were prepared enough not to be engulfed by the colourful flak. The cart had unfolded into a table with a laid cake and a gramophone playing happy music, surrounded by a variety of toys and glasses with funny-shaped, colourful drinking straws. On one end of the cart was a cutout of a pony lacking a tail, and on the other was a cupboard, the contents of which Twilight could only guess at. Pinkie rushed to the 3 young ponies, shaking their hooves physically in turn. "Hi, I'm Pinkie Pie," she exclaimed. "We can have so much fun, and you won't even realize the spooky, scary, creepy, unnatural Everfree Forest trying to spook and scare and creep and, unnaturalize you." She pulled them into a group hug, consisting of her hugging and them being the group. "Pinkie, this is Hermione, Harry, and Ron," Twilight presented, delighted to see her friend back in a cheerful mood. The 1 pony welcoming party looked the school ponies over, eyeing the Ginger's cutie mark. "Hey! Is that Quidditch goal loops?" she exclaimed excitedly. Yeah, Ron said with pride. "Isn't it brilliant? I mean, wait, you know about Quidditch? What? Oh, okay. How would a pony even hold onto a broomstick?" he added, squinting as if trying to picture the situation. "Of course I know Quidditch, silly. It's a game. And I know all kinds of games. What if someone wanted to play a game at a party and didn't know the rules? Then they'd be sad, and I'd be sad, and then I won't be able to race past the ponies, and the party will be ruined." She gasped at the thought. "Besides," she added impossibly, "Fred and George talk about it all the time, so it's hard not to catch up on it." Twilight looked at the 3 young unicorns, who dropped their jaws in unison, staring at her in utter disbelief. Wait. Fred and George Weasley? Do you know Ron's brothers?" "Ah, so you're that Ron. I should have known. So silly of me." Pinkie giggled, and then her eyes became wide as if realizing something. She eyed Twilight, tapping her hoof to her chin, and then smiled back at Ron. "So, Ron ventured slowly, trying to digest the information. You do know Fred and George. How is that even possible? Of course I know them. I'm Pinkie Pie, Pink Improbability said proudly. I use only the best quality practical jokes, and Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, and Weasley's Wizard Wheezes carry the best of the best of the best. Toffee, she offered, pulling out a hooful of brightly coloured candies. No, thanks, miss, Ron replied with a squirm, recognising the wrappings. It was my brother's guinea pig for those. You were a guinea pig? That's awesome! I wanted to be a guinea pig, but Twilight said, no small rodents of any kind. Pinkie put a forehoof in front of her forehead, imitating a horn, and did a mockingly stern impression of her purple friend. Hermione stood still, staring, opening and closing her mouth without noticing it. Twilight smiled at her. Don't worry, she's just being Pinkie Pie, Twilight said for the second time that day. The 5 ponies trotted through the Everfree forest, Pinkie Pie serving cake and jokes from a mobile party wagon, Ron and Harry laughing aloud, and Twilight and Hermione deep in discussion about Twilight's failed attempts to set up a magical theory for her friend's astounding abilities. Once they'd reached Sakura's hut, Twilight knocked on the door. When the zebra opened, the scent of her home, a mixture of dried herbs, incense, and the sweet foreign pastries she baked, met the ponies. Twilight Sparkle, my dear friend, how soon it is we meet again, the zebra intoned. Good morning, Sakura. Meet Hermione, Ron, and Harry. There's something they'd like to discuss with you. Twilight greeted the shaman. Sakura looked the visitors over. You come from far away, I see, she bid them inside. What is it you would ask of me? No longer able to be taken aback by the strange behavior of any pony, Hermione smiled at the zebra. Thank you for having us, Miss Sakura. Twilight said you might have a potion recipe we are looking for to help a friend. A draught to calm a werewolf while in its transformed state. Where we come from, it's called wolfsbane. Have you heard of such a brew? The zebra closed her eyes and relaxed her face, an expression Twilight knew meant that her wise friend was mentally paging through her the enormous tome of knowledge in her head. When she opened her eyes, she smiled back at Hermione. To keep the inner wolf at bay, a recipe I have this way, she said, guiding the young mare towards her bookshelves, where she pulled out a large book with one of her jewellery-encircled hooves and blew the dust off the cover before taking it in her mouth and transported it to a bookstand. Closely followed by the expectant unicorn, she flipped through the long unused tome until she reached a page of instructions for a Slumberwolf elixir. She motioned to Hermione, who skimmed the recipe, which was several pages long. Twilight watched as her fellow magic student went from eager to concentrated to confused to frustrated to stubborn to even more frustrated to finally painfully surrendering. I'm very grateful for you showing me this, Miss Sakura, Sudden Pony said, but I'm afraid I'll never be able to brew this elixir. She flipped back and forth between some especially confusing passages. I've never even heard about half the ingredients listed here. The description of the process is completely foreign to me. She let out a sigh. But Hermione, Ron put a hoof on the orange mare's shoulder. You are brilliant. There isn't a spell or a potion you haven't mastered once you set your mind to it. I've never seen you give up against a magical challenge before. Ron sounded more worried about Hermione's self-esteem than the potion. Cheer up, will you? You can do this. Harry came over and echoed Ron's faith in their friend's abilities. The mare shook her head. Thank you guys, but this is about more than mere skill. It's like reading a book in a language that looks like yours but just isn't. A lot of the sentences don't even make sense to me, much less work as instructions. Hermione faced Twilight and Sakura, her eyes wet. Again, thank you so much for your help, both of you, but I'm afraid it just wasn't meant to be. Twilight looked at the devastated young mare, sympathizing with her pain. Not being able to help a friend because your knowledge was limited was a thing Twilight feared. One of the reasons she spent so much time studying, preparing. She cursed herself for preparing the visit to Sakura, although she knew that it was the best idea at the time. Still, she would rather have spared the pretty curly-haired unicorn of the pain of feeling inadequate. She tried to find words, but none came to mind. As she looked at the zebra beside her for help, she noticed a smile on the hermit's muzzle. "If zebra tongue is what you fear," Zecora said gently, "the remedy is very near." Hermione fluttered her eyes, puzzled. Then listened to the zebra she rhymed. "If you are skilled in alchemy, the rest you'll quickly learn from me." Twilight smiled warmly at Zecora as Hermione brightened up. "Oh, thank you so much, Miss Zecora. I cannot express how much that means to me, but—" The clever young unicorn hesitated. "Teaching me another language? That sounds like an awful lot of work for you, not to mention time-consuming. However much I would like to accept, you must be getting back to the school soon, or we'll be in trouble." She looked at her friends, especially Harry. The striped shaman reassured Hermione. "It will not take me too much time to teach the rules of zebra rhyme. Come here, you three, to understand how zebras speak in foreign lands." "Come here, you three, to understand how zebras speak in foreign lands." She motioned the three towards a small blackboard, which currently held the words, "Remember when in Ponyville? Yeast, milk, some apples, and basil." As the zebra started her brief grammatical crash course, Pinkie pulled Twilight aside, an insistent look on her face. 3 hours later, the three had had enough of a grasp of the rhythmic rules of zebra sentences between them to help Hermione spell her way through the recipe, and with the aid of Zecora's botanical encyclopedia, they had identified the ingredients as well. Tremendously grateful, Hermione bowed her head to her linguistics teacher of the day. "Thank you, Zecora. For today, you've helped me more than I can say," she intoned, trying to hit the notes correctly. Twilight dear, it was a not half bad attempt. Zecora seemed pleased as well. She enjoys teaching, Twilight thought. Maybe she should talk to Cherylee. Getting the zebra to interact more with Ponyville's foals would be good for her, and certainly help diffuse any fear that residents might still have for the strange hermit. Happily, she produced her to-do list and checked, "Help the 3 ponies who teleported out of my chimney last night to find a recipe for their wolf friend's problem." She then floated out the apples for everyone to snack on. Before they thanked Zecora once again and headed back to Ponyville, the zebra, in need of a bit of grocery shopping, joined them on their return. At the library, Twilight and her old friends bade their new friends farewell, insisting they came visiting again, to which the trio happily obliged. Just before they went into the chimney, however, Pinkie Pie pulled Ron close, whispering to him with an unusual seriousness, "Give this to Fred. Tell him to wear it always." Her eyes bulged in an attempt to stress the importance of a word when she passed Ron a ring, too small to fit on a unicorn horn, much less a hoof. Always. Then, reverting to form, she put everyone into a group hug, this time with Harry, Ron, and Hermione actively participating. Once the smoke had cleared from the flue powder disappearance, about which Hermione had satisfied Twilight's curiosity during their study session, Twilight asked Pinkie Pie, "That was the most specific, convoluted series of enchantments I've ever cast on an object. How did you even know about event-triggered portkey spells? The research document hasn't even been published in Magical Equestrian yet." "Oh, well, I overheard you talking about it with Princess Luna when she visited last time, and I thought it'd be a great idea for a joke," Pinkie answered, snacking on cake leftovers. "But then, last time I visited Weasley's Weezes, I had this horrible case of eye flutter, then knee wobble, then hoof burn, then eye flutter again, then a small sneeze, then a ginormous sneeze, and I just didn't know what to do until I met Ron here at Equestria today. Thank you so much, Twilight. Now everything will end in sunshine and rainbows." Pinkie hugged her friend, joyous tears streaming down her cheeks, mixing the whipped cream around her mixing with the whipped cream around her muzzle. Twilight Sparkle returned the hug, not understanding what had made her friend so relieved. Well, Pinkie Pie will be Pinkie Pie. So, yeah, that was quite nice. Lovely little one shot right there. So, author's note. I was having a flu and couldn't sleep, so as a means of counting sheep, I started the story in a chat on the Danish Brony Community Facebook page. It would never have been more than the first half page or so if I hadn't been for the encouragement of Spike is Best Dragon. who showed interest in my midnight ramblings. He was also kind enough to pre-read the thing for me. This is the first piece of prose I've written in 10 years. Strange what ponies do to you. So, yeah. I mean, what the hell was up with, Pinky? Oh, that was weird. That was, proper weird. I mean, I just want to know what was Pinky, doing the whole time? Yeah? I don't get the, little inner jokes. So, I'm sure it'll all be revealed eventually. There might be, a sequel, I don't know. So, yeah, that's it for you for now. Well, that's it for now. I'll read something else. I'll just edit this, upload it, and then I'll just read something else for you, because I'm bored and I have nothing better to do today. So, yeah. Until next time, my little bronies. Have fun waiting for the next video. Oh, did I not mention? Give me feedback on the stories or my reading, whatever, in the comments. Subscribe if you want. Yeah. Adios, todos.